Welcome back to Really Haunted Places. Tonight's story takes you to haunted places in Michigan. The Landmark Inn has a rich history and has played host to a variety of celebrity guests over the years, but it is also famed for being one of the most haunted places in Michigan. Of the many ghost stories that are linked to the Landmark Inn, one of the most well-known is the librarian. It is said that in the 1930s, a spinster librarian and a crewman fell in love. The plan was for the couple to marry after his final cruise, but unfortunately, the ship was swept away and the entire crew went down with the ship. The librarian never recovered from her grief, and it is said that she died soon after, possibly of a broken heart. Many people have reported seeing the librarian gazing out of the window of the lilac room up on the 6th floor, bound for eternity to wait on her missing lover to return from sea. The lilac room has been the most active room since the renovation work in the 90s. The very first guest to stay in the room after the grand reopening complained of finding screws in the bed. He had the housekeeper change the sheets, but on returning to the room after dinner there were more screws in the bed. Staff members have also said that the front desk frequently receives calls from the lilac room even when it is unoccupied. This theater originally opened as an opera house in 1900 before making a gradual transition to plays and films. It has two balconies that are fairly large, and the theater as a whole holds about 700 people. The original ghost story begins with an actress named Madame Helena Majeska who performed at this venue during her life. Sometime in the 1950s, an actress was on stage and forgot her lines. As the rumor goes, she looked up into one of the balconies and discovered Majeska up there, mouthing the lines to her. Currently, theatergoers have said they feel eerie presences, sudden gusts of cold air, and hear music that does not seem to come from a source. Traverse City State Hospital was in operation for more than 100 years, so you can imagine the vast number of patients who have passed through its doors and the large volume of deaths that must have occurred here. As you might imagine, over the years there have been a growing number of tales about restless spirits and patients who have never checked out of the hospital. It now stands abandoned and decaying, but it is known to be one of the most haunted places in Michigan. One of the most disturbing stories linked to Traverse City State Hospital is that there is supposed to be a portal to hell located under the so-called hippie tree, which is located on the trails just behind the main building. There are also frequent reports of disembodied screams and voices echoing through the empty halls, and lights are said to turn on and off at random despite the fact that the electricity has been disconnected for several years. Some of the spirits to have actually manifested as full apparitions around the hospital include several patients, including children, and the spirit of a priest who took his own life inside the hospital. However, perhaps the most terrifying of all is the disfigured, shadowy figure who is said to creep around the tunnels and basements. In 1895, the Solshoi Lighthouse was dubbed by French fur traders as the only choice for a stopping point on the route through Lake Michigan. Joseph Townsend was the lighthouse keeper for years, and his brother James, a wealthy captain, would often make the journey to visit him. During a particularly dire visit, Captain Townsend fell ill and died in the lighthouse. His body was embalmed and held in the basement for weeks as the family waited for people paying their respects to make the journey to Gulliver. Reports of a lingering smell, footsteps up and down the lighthouse steps, and odd noises have kept visitors coming to the lighthouse for over a century now. Another one of the most haunted places in Michigan is Detroit Masonic Temple. One of the most well-known ghosts that are said to inhabit the building is George D. Mason. His apparition has been spotted with several guests and the night watchman. There are also many cold spots in the building, and doors are said to open and close on their own. In particular, the roof doors have been said to swing open just moments after being locked by the night watchman. Dory Felt started construction of the Felt Mansion in 1925 with the vision of building a beautiful home for his family. It was originally intended to be the family's summer home, and it took 3 years to complete. It was one of the largest mansions of the time, with 25 rooms across the 17,000 square feet that the house occupied. It even had its own ballroom. However, just 6 weeks after it was completed, Dory's wife Agnes passed away suddenly, and he was left devastated. He died about 18 months later, some say of a broken heart. In the years that followed, the Felt family fell on hard times. Gradually the land and then the house was sold off. The mansion was converted into a prep school for Catholic boys. Then in the 70s, it was converted first into a prison and then into a home for cloistered nuns. It might not come as much of a shock to learn that the main hauntings at Felt Mansion are said to be the spirits of previous owners Dor and Agnes Felt. They apparently wander throughout the house, and people have said that they are simply taking time to enjoy the dream home that they were unable to enjoy in life. They seem to be friendly and are happy to share their home with guests and visitors. There are also reports of less defined shadow figures seen in the third-floor ballroom. They sometimes dance, while others are said to appear as though they are sweeping the floor. There are also reports of the double French doors in Agnes' room opening and closing on their own.
In 1812, hundreds of Americans died at the River Raisin battlefield. Like so many battlefields, this has given rise to a grim and unsettling reputation for paranormal activity. In fact, River Raisin National Battlefield Park is considered to be one of the most haunted places in Michigan. River Raisin was the site of one of the biggest battles of 1812. The 850 American troops who were settled there were attacked by 500 British soldiers and 500 Native Americans. Around 300 American soldiers were killed and hundreds more were wounded. These wounded men were left defenseless and ended up being slaughtered by the Native Americans in what is now known as the River Raisin Massacre. It is estimated that in all, only 33 of the Americans escaped alive. No figures are known for the death toll on the other side. As you might expect, given the gruesome history, ghostly apparitions are the norm here. Several visitors have seen spectral American soldiers in a uniform appropriate to 1812. Some visitors have captured shadowy figures in doorways when taking photographs, and there have been multiple EVPs recorded in the area which contain moans and cries of agony and the sounds of a battle taking place.
I want to thank you for watching. And until then, good night.